How's it going, everybody? My name is Philip, and today we are going to be reacting to Geography Now, Norway. I haven't done Geography Now in quite a while, because I've been away for quite a while, not recording for quite a while. And today I wanted to get to know more about Norway. No reason. Just kind of want to know about Norway. No, honestly, part of it is my great-grandmother. I don't know if she's from Norway or her family's from Norway. But now, this is what I will say. From what I hear from my parents and my family, not just my parents, but aunts and everything, and my grandmother. My great-grandmother, I guess, her family and whatnot, they either donated a lot of money or something to a specific area, and so they have a special front seat at a church somewhere. I don't know where. Somewhere. The last name is Marsh. Or never mind, because that's her married name. I don't know what her maiden name is. So I don't know. And I only throw that out there because I know that when my grandmother and her brother and sister, when they went out to Norway at one point, they said, "Oh yeah, this is our family," blah blah. I was like, "Oh yeah, come sit in this special," and they made it seem like it was such a special occasion, big deal, blah blah blah. Probably wasn't as big of a deal. They was like, "Oh, it's so cool," but I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I want to know more about Norway. I've always kind of loved the Scandinavia area, countries, Sweden, Norway, Norwegian. No, fuck, what? I keep wanting to say Denmark, but Finland. Sorry, Finnish people out there. I did not mean to forget you guys. I know it's not. I'm doing better at knowing that Denmark is not one of those big ass countries that kind of is. It's close. Just okay. Anyways, I'm here. Let's check it out. Norway.
Hey everyone, so I'm excited for this one. We recently did a geography in Oslo, Norway, and I had the honor to meet many of you guys, the Norwegian geograpeeps, in your own country. It was amazing. Norway is a country everyone has kind of heard about, something about snow, ice, Vikings, skiing, I think trolls. But Norway is also a land of highly compounded history, tradition, postmodernism, and above all, landscape and people. And black metal. Yes, Keith is really excited for this episode.
Not sure I've ever heard of black metal before,
Hey everyone,
honestly.
I'm your host Barbs. We've done Denmark, Finland, Iceland, and now the fourth Nordic sister, Norway. Now, in the Nordic countries, Norway would kind of be like the one that everyone either tries to call their best friend or date. She smiles at the ground, pulls her hair behind her ear, and looks up with those sky blue doe eyes that sparkle and says, "Welcome to Norway."
What the fuck?
Norway plays a huge role in what it means to be Northern European. And when you look at it on the map,
Ooh.
you'll see that it's fascinating how well...
I will say I always love architecture. And it pisses me off that we've gone from making things look dope as hell and fancy with some with gargoyles, some with, intricate fucking things. I listen, I don't know the technical terms for a lot of it, but they make it look hella cool. And then now we just make everything all blocky. Bro, listen, I like Minecraft, but come on. What the...
They've developed a civil infrastructure from a rugged, half-frozen peninsula. Oh, and there's a town called Hell.
First of all, the country, which kind of looks like the shape of a spoon, is located in northern Europe in the region known as Scandinavia, just above the North Sea, bordering mostly Sweden to the east, Finland in the far north, and even a small sliver of Russia at the very end. This effectively means that Norway goes even further east than Finland and gets the entire Arctic coast from their neighbors, sharing the Barents Sea with Russia. Apart from that, Norway has some overseas territories as well, two of which are in the Arctic Circle, the Svalbard archipelago with only about 3,000 people, mostly in the largest town Longyearbyen, and the uninhabited Jan Mayen Island.
It always amazes me that people live so far north in the world. Mainly because I live in California, and when it gets to 40 degrees, 30 degrees here, Fahrenheit, obviously, because I'm not quite sure of the conversion rate from Fahrenheit to Celsius. I'm like, nah, that's too cold. So it's like, what, like 0 degrees Celsius? That's when I'm just like, I'm good. No thanks.
Which was actually kind of traded with the UK for these islands and Canada in like 1930 when Canada was still British. Weird trade-off, but okay. After that, they have 2 dependent territories, the Antarctic areas of Peter I Island and Bouvet Island.
That is
way
very
down
random.
south, neither of which are permanently inhabited, and they also claim a portion of Antarctica known as Queen Maud Land. Going back to the mainland though, the country is currently, as of 2019, divided into 17 counties, or fylker, plus the unincorporated area of Svalbard, which, by the way, holds the northernmost permanently inhabited settlement in the world, with a population around 40 in the winter and 120 in the summer. The thing is, in 2020, the country will merge some of these counties into 11 regions. Already, North and South Trondelag have merged, and the final result in 2020 will look like this. The country's largest city and capital is Oslo, located in the southeast, which also holds the largest airport, Oslo Lufthavn International, as well as Oslo's shipping port, the busiest shipping port in the country. A skip to the west, you find the second largest city, Bergen, with of course the second largest airport, Bergen International. It is said that almost around 80% of the country lives within 10 kilometers of the ocean, and despite the rugged mountainous terrain, the nation has an extensive network of roads, bridges, and trains that cross virtually every region of the nation, including the Lærdal Tunnel, the world's longest road tunnel that stretches 24.
Yo, that looks dope. I think it's just the lighting though, honestly. But
kilometers long, cutting through a mountain, and also the famous Atlantic Road that hops from island to island in the Møre og Romsdal County.
Now, what's really fascinating is that Norway kind of went from this to this. And for a nation that has never surpassed 5.5 million in population, it's pretty impressive. How did this happen, though? Well, as the legend goes, in the 60s, Denmark was like,
"Hey, Norway, you are just the best. I love you, man, and you know, just to prove it, I'm gonna give you all this ocean water stuff.
Wow, really?
Yeah, just take it."
Thanks. Whoa, there's like a ton of oil here. Thanks, Denmark.
Actually, it was the Geneva Convention like 10 years prior to that, but that story's kind of boring. Now, as you can clearly tell, Norway has lots of access to the ocean.
Due to all the serrated inlets and fjords plus islands, they have the 7th largest coastline in the world. This also means that roads and bridges can only take you so far, and in order to get around in Norway's west coast, you'll see a lot, and I mean a lot, of ferries and ships. And what's cool is that, like some of their neighbors, Norway has a free roaming law in which you can pretty much camp out anywhere in nature as long as it is not on private property. We all know some towns in Norway are situated in the most picturesque locations. Some, like this town, have no direct sunlight for 6 months because of the mountains, so they built giant mirrors to illuminate them.
I've heard of something like that, but I thought I heard something like in like Switzerland or somewhere. It was, I don't think it was Norway that I heard of it. It was somewhere else. I could be wrong. It probably wasn't Switzerland. But how many places in the world are like that? It's kind of interesting. I probably would hate it, but you know, it's interesting. It's really
Fun fact, Longyearbyen is known for being both the brightest and darkest place on Earth. Because of its location on the Arctic Circle, it gets 110 continuous days of no sunshine and 95 days of no night. Also, they have an emergency seed bank with over 1 million specimens built into the side of the mountain in case of the apocalypse and all plant life dies out on Earth.
That's
also,
where that is.
It's illegal to die in Svalbard because of the permafrost. Bodies do not decompose, so you must either ship out your body or cremate it.
Not sure how to segue out of that, but let's talk about cool places.
Is
now,
there
I
another
asked some
place
of you
like
guys
that?
in Norwegian geography what some of the top places to visit in Norway are, and here are some of the suggestions you gave. Nordkapp, the Viking Ship Museum, Nidaros Cathedral.
See, okay. I pressed way too many buttons down there. No, okay, but look at that. When I say architecture,
Some of the suggestions you gave. Nordkapp, the Viking Ship Museum, Nidaros.
how did we go from this to making boxes? That's what gets on my nerves. That looks amazing. I'm just smacking everything right now on my desk. That looks dope as hell. Especially with stained glass. When you get I love stained glass. So, I mean, I know it's probably very difficult to make and everything, but that looks dope. I'm just saying, how do we go from that to making boxes and tall buildings that are boxes? Rectangulars. Like, it's fucking stupid.
Cathedral, the Dock of Bergen, the King's Castle, Altes Igloo.
Listen, I like sleeping cold, but I don't know if I'd like that. It's cool to visit, though. That'd be
Hotel,
interesting.
Frogner Park and Vigeland Sculpture Park. Try to find the one with the dude fighting the babies. This fortress, this Iron Age farm, the world's largest moose sculpture, this whaling museum, the Roald Amundsen and Edward Munch monuments and grave, the Kon-Tiki Museum, the Polaria Aquarium, the Ager Viking-style brewery, the Three Swords Monument. So many traditional.
Oh, see, again, with that looks dope. I'm sorry, but this one right here doesn't look real. This one just does not look real. That one looks fake. That looks dope. I like that, and I like that. That one's probably not as cool as the other ones, but I mean, it still looks cool. Like, why did we stop building stuff like this? Too dangerous? Not cool enough? Like, you know, I want to buy like a big ass plot of land and have dope ass buildings like this. You know, the problem is I don't know if anyone is actually around to build stuff like this. If they know, if architecturally, I'd have to fucking find a way to get all the Disney people from stop working at Disney and come build random buildings like this for me here in my own plot of land.
Churches, but this one is probably the most famous
That
one.
is
I mean, there's like
dope.
a billion rocks named after body parts of trolls. There's that weird boulder jammed between two cliffs, a mountain with a hole in it so it looks like it got shot by a gun. So many ice caves, the
Ooh.
world's strongest whirlpool. So many fjords like Geiranger Fjord, Nordfjord, Hardanger Fjord, Troll Fjord, Harrison Fjord. They were even supposed to give Finland the peak of Mount Halti for their 100th birthday, but then it was kind of like,
Happy 100th birthday, Finland!
Thanks, Norway. So I heard that you're thinking of finally giving me the peak to my tallest mountain, right?
Oh yeah, sure, why not?
Awesome. Well, then let me have it.
Oh, see, there's this thing in my constitution called Article 1, which states that the Kingdom of Norway is indivisible, so here's a taco.
yeah, Norwegians actually really love tacos, which makes the perfect
That's fine.
opportunity to transition into.
Food. Oh.
Now, if you know anything about Norway's land, you'll know.
How is that a you speaking of transitions, after we're talking about food, let's go to physical geography. No, food, man. I'm chunky here, man. I eat a lot.
This one word, fjords, fjords, fjords. The word is even Norwegian. And it's interesting how it became that way.
Basically, like many other areas in the north, the country is a post-glacial peninsula with over 50,000 islands that at one point was completely covered in ice. Over time, the ice melted, eroding the rock beneath, creating the incredibly indented coastline of steep, jagged cliffs and fjords. Of the coast, the largest and deepest fjord is Sognefjord, and it is the third largest in the world, extending over 200 kilometers
that's
inland.
cool.
This means that much of the country is divided into regions of choppy fjord stuff to the west and the connected hilly and valley stuff to the south and southeast. Everything pretty much falls either within the alpine boreal climate or further up north, Arctic. Keep in mind that due to Svalbard and Jan Mayen, the Norwegian economic zone extends to the majority of the Norwegian Sea
big-ass
and
sea,
much of the
though.
Barents, as well as the North Sea to the south. This is called the NCS, or Norwegian Continental Shelf. Here, the largest deposit of underwater oil is found that supplies Norway with much of its wealth. A skip to the east, you find the largest lake, Lake Mjøsa, which is just parallel to the longest river in the country, the Glomma, which drains all the way into the North Sea in the south and has a drainage basin that covers about 13% of the country's land. A little skip to the west, in the center, you find the longest and most dominant mountain chain, the Scandinavian mountains, where you can find the tallest peak, Galdhøpiggen, which is also the tallest in all of the Nordics. If we are discussing the overseas territories, then Svalbard is pretty much an Arctic archipelago of glaciers, this one being the largest in all of Europe, and the rest are mostly just cold valleys.
That does look
Jan
kinda
Mayen
cool, though.
Island is the only place with an active volcano in Norway. The Berenberg Peak last erupted in 1980. Otherwise, if we skip all the way south to the Antarctic, Bouvet and Peter I Islands are dormant volcanic islands, Bouvet considered the most remote island in the world, and both of which are nearly completely covered in ice and only inhabited by seals and birds.
Now, keep in mind about the oil thing,
Okay.
though. Although they export lots of it, gas is actually still super expensive. According to globalpetrolprices.com, as of 2019, it is just over 17.2 krone per liter, making it one of the most expensive places to get gas in the world.
Why?
I don't want to talk about it.
This is partially because in 1990, they initiated the Government Pension Fund Global. This is a national wealth fund run by the government to subsidize pensions when oil dependence runs dry. Now, Norway has lots of natural resources and clever ways of managing them, making them somewhat of a paragon for development few other nations can compare with.
Challenge accepted.
But for what it's worth, they have a unique system locked and loaded. And now it is time for my triple shot of espresso break. Usually this is the part where Noah comes in, but Noah is out of town. So let's give this to Keith.
Now, everyone knows that Norway is quite a prosperous nation, but just how prosperous is it? Let's just put it this way. They export more than they import, and not just petroleum products. Fish alone makes up about 10% of their exports, and they are the highest exporter
surprised
of
it's not
salmon
more.
out of any other country in the world.
I just love Voss water. It's expensive and it's Norwegian, so you know it probably came from like a mystical glacier or something.
Yeah,
Nope.
no, that's basically just our tap water. I wash my dishes with that stuff every day.
But it's expensive and Norwegian.
And you fell for it.
Ha! Y'all just got tricked.
Otherwise, the majority of
never
the
had
energy
Voss.
in Norway
I don't
comes
know.
from hydroelectric power. Norway became one of the first countries to adopt a carbon tax back in 1991. Although cutting down trees is still done on a smaller scale, they were the first country to ban deforestation. They have Europe's largest herd of
Nice.
reindeer. They have lots of birds like puffins. Whales and orcas love swimming off the coast. In the Arctic, you can find polar bears and walruses. And now, food. Norwegian food
Yes.
is known for being either really nice, warm, and cozy, or straight up disgusting.
What the
They
hell?
love their fish. You have some interesting fish dishes like lutefisk and rockfisk. Some other dishes include things like various types of porridge, pickled herring, kumla, reindeer made in very
Huh, I've never had reindeer. I don't know if I don't, it might be good. I don't know.
various ways. Meatballs and brown sauce,
Okay.
kroomkake,
Brown cheese. Is that supposed to be like a form of... How does it get brown?
brown cheese. These Christmas
I'm not gonna lie. I'm down for both of them, honestly. I mean, the bottom one looks like most of the meat came off it already. It just looks like bones, but
dishes, and the national dish fårikål. However, if you ask a Norwegian, they might tell you the new national dish of Norway is tacos. They might have
I'm
some
fine with
questionable ingredients on the table for you to add, like mayonnaise or cucumbers. And I mean, come on, Mexico, even you break your own rules all the time and mix things up in your own country. So let the Norwegians have their fun. And speaking of Norwegians, have fun.
Oh, and speaking of Norwegians having fun.
Oh, and speaking of Norwegians having fun,
Thank you, Keith. Norwegians have a saying, they are born with skis. The word even comes from the ancient Norse word skeith, which means split wood. If there was any kind of apex cold
Okay,
winter
that's
type
random.
of people on Earth, Norwegians would take the gold. And they literally do take the gold. Like, they have more Winter Olympics gold medals than any other country. First of all, the country has about 5.3 million people, and as of 2018, has the highest human development index out of any country in the world.
Nice.
About 84%, the country is made up primarily of people that identify as ethnically Norwegian, including about 60,000 indigenous Sami people. About 8.3% of the population is other European descent, mostly Western Europe, and the remaining population is made up of other people groups from outside of Europe, from various regions of Africa, Asia, mostly from countries like Pakistan.
that I would not have guessed. They went from somewhere that's a bit more on the warmer side to go to somewhere a little bit colder. That's interesting.
Somalia, Morocco, Iraq, and Kurdish people. They use the Norwegian krone as their currency, they use the types C and F plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road.
Yeah.
Interesting to note that they are not part of the EU, but part of the European Economic Area and Free Trade Association. In fact, Norway is a kingdom, currently under the headship of King Harald V. However, his role is mostly representative and ceremonial. His executive powers are limited, and most government is ruled by the parliament. Essentially, though, although some would argue Vikings kind of started in Denmark, it really kicked off in Norway. Norwegian Vikings did kind of all the exploring and colonizing and raiding and killing, you know, Viking stuff. And no, they did not wear helmets with horns. Language-wise, Norway actually has two official languages, Norwegian and Sami, the language of the minority northern indigenous peoples that
Okay.
have lived in the frigid regions for millennia. The Norwegian language, however, is kind of confusing though, because it
Yes.
kind of has two different writing systems that everybody must learn in school,
Especially-
Nynorsk and Bokmål. What exactly are they? Well, it kind of goes like this.
hey, we've been in a union with the Danish for centuries, and now they are gone. We can speak our own language freely.
Woohoo! But we've been writing our language in the Danish style for so long. I mean, what do we do? Do we change it?
Hi, I'm Ivo Olsen, and I say yes. I'm going to listen to all the dialects of Norwegian and come up with a weird fusion thing that can work for everyone. I'll call it Nynorsk. We can teach it in schools and everyone can be free of Danish influence. And today the Danish-style bokmål is still used by about 85% of the population. Weird side note, the word ha can mean almost anything in Norway. For example, ha. 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 Ha.
Yeah, okay.
Speaking of which, like...
That's fine. Like, I didn't get into it with my mom, but like I was explaining to my mom, like, whoa, you're like, whoa, that's kind of bizarre, or whoa, that's cool. It's just the way you emphasize the word, right? It's different. It's spelled pretty much the same, but like, and that was the only example that we had at the time. So I mean, there's other ways of saying the things, but yeah.
Many of their other neighbors, Norwegians have 13 years of school, graduating at age 19. And when Norwegians are just about ready to take their final exams, they go on a 3-week party called Russ. And just look it up. Norway has lots of different dialects. Here are some of you guys, Norwegian geography peeps, explaining.
På standard norsk ville jeg sagt hvordan, men I Ålesundsområdet ville jeg sagt hvordan.
Hey, my name is Talina. In standard Norwegian, you might say våres, but in Egersund area, you say okkas.
In the west, you could say gysna løyer, and in the north, maybe korarti.
In Oslo, you would say something along the lines of det ikke lett, skjønner du. Trøndelag County, det ikke lett.
See, but those O's with the lines through them, like, what the? Also, that A and E put together? Y'all probably are used to it, but I'm, as an English speaker, barely an English speaker at this point, I'm looking at that like, what is that? What? Man.
Sure.
So in standard Norwegian you would say søppel, but in Bergen we say boss.
Thank you. Otherwise, there are so many other things you guys, the Norwegian geography peeps, wanted us to talk about in terms of your culture. And here is Random Hannah with culture stuff.
Yeah, culture.
Norway is a land loaded with tradition and folklore. Many of you have already heard of things like trolls and elves, but there's also scary beings like the Huldra, Nattmara, and the Nuken. Pretty much all Norwegians are outdoorsy people.
I'm sorry, but I need to know about those legendary creatures. Not because one of them looked naked or anything, but I like the creepy stuff. Okay, not for pervy reasons, but creepy stuff is cool to me. Okay, so if it's scary looking and it has a weird background, I'm all for it. If they happen to be naked, that's not my problem. Okay, I'm not gonna go back. I want to look at them again, not because they're naked, but because I want to see. She went by them very quickly, okay, but they looked cool. They did, and I'm gonna have to. I don't even remember what the names are, but I'm gonna have to go back and at some point anyway to see what the names are, so I can look them up, and learn why they look creepy for, you know. And why they're naked. Research purposes only. Okay? Jeez.
Hiking and cross-country skiing are national pastimes, hands down. Almost everyone owns
Hey-o.
some kind of Mari sweater, made of wool with traditional patterns knitted onto the upper parts, usually in the national colors of red, white, and blue. Many Norwegians own small cabins in the woods, and they actually like to brag about how bad their cabins can be. As in how technologically disconnected they are, with the least amenities. No Wi-Fi, no electricity, no
Sometimes
plumbing.
that's great,
Hardcore.
though.
Speaking of bragging, in Norway, it's considered super cool to come back from vacation and show off your tan, because it's kind of hard to get a tan in Norway. The Nobel Peace Prize is also awarded in Oslo every year. In Norway, everyone's income and wealth is on public record, mostly. But for what it's worth, the nation does this to help prevent tax evasion. And finally, we cannot skip the bunads. These are traditional costumes of Norway that come in so many different varieties based on the region and town you are from. They are mostly worn for special occasions, especially for May 17th, the country's national day, where they march to the castle in Oslo. show.
Yeah. All right, get out of here. I want to talk about music. Traditionally, Norwegians have their own regional folk music and dances called bugdedans. Traditional instruments include things like dulcimers, goat horn, willow flute. The traditional folk music eventually found a way to fuse with one of the most popular genres of Norway today, metal, or specifically Norwegian folk metal band.
Let me know some of the big ones. I'm interested. I already I've heard of and they're not
only that, but black.
I'm pressing the button a bit too much. I'm sorry, but oh, what the? What is this? It's almost like Kiss, but in a weird, awkward way. They caught me off guard. I've heard of fuck. What was it? Nightwish. I know they're not Norwegian, but I know Tuomas Holopainen is Finnish, I believe. And the singer is. She's not. I don't think she's Norwegian. I don't know, but I mean, it's Scandinavian area, different. But I mean, they were the first team. They were the first band that I thought of when metal music and whatnot. We're going back a little bit because I accidentally pressed space a little bit. But yeah, let me know some music to react to for Norwegian music.
Norway today, metal, or specifically Norwegian folk metal.
Especially folk
Not
metal.
only that, but black metal was started supposedly in Norway, and it has since been a domineering genre many people have been playing for decades. That's it for me.
Thank you again, Keith. Anyway, we gotta move on. History, in the quickest way I can put it. Viking Age. This dude unites Norway into one kingdom. Vikings invade and take over a ton of other places like England. Christianity, Old Kingdom, Black Plague, Union of Kalmar. Denmark takes over. Lutheranism. Sweden takes over. Constitution established. First wave of immigrants to America. They finally leave Sweden. World War I, neutral. Women's suffrage. World War II, neutral again, but Germany doesn't care. Joins NATO and European Free Trade Association. Oil boom. They vote and reject EU membership. Host the Winter Olympics in Lillehammer, largest underwater gas pipeline in the world opened. Oslo grows and more immigrants come in. And here we are today. I asked you Norwegian geography peeps for some notable people from Norway or of Norwegian descent, and here are some of the ones you suggested we put in this video. Eric the Red, so many past Vikings and kings, blah blah blah. Edvard Grieg, Edvard Munch, these riders, these cross-country skiers, Roald Amundsen, Magnus Carlsen, Max Magnus, Thor Heyerdahl, Fridtjof Nansen, so many
Oh, what the Fox Day people? I didn't realize that they were Norwegian. Aha! I've heard of them as well. I can't think of any music or songs, but I've heard of them. I might actually have to look these people up. Also, why are the women so beautiful? What are you guys drinking? Is it your tap water? Is that the secret to how gorgeous these women are? My goodness. What in the flying fart cheese, man?
Musicians like these people, as well as actors like...
Oh! I didn't know this dude was actually Norwegian. That's cool. Only person I've heard of out of so far.
These people, and of course, the royal family. Seriously though, did you guys watch the movie Kon-Tiki? It's pretty good. I mean, his migration theory was still kind of mostly wrong, but hey, you did a cool thing, man. And that's the thing about Norwegians. They're so globally intrepid. They reach out to the far corners. And with that, they've also made a lot of friends. Which brings us to... Now, Norwegians are known for being very level-headed and nice, but they do know who they support and stand by no matter what. First of all, Switzerland is kind of like their weird alternate parallel universe twin that shares a lot in common with them. They both are not part of the EU, they both are very financially stable, yet expensive to live in. They both have mountains and snow, and they both have similar values in general affairs. They get along pretty well and enjoy sharing the ski stories. The UK is a very close friend, especially Scotland, due to their shared Viking history. They even give them a Christmas tree every year to...
Okay, I will say, I don't think I've ever heard of a Scottish Viking. Granted, I've always kind of bundled all Vikings together, so there's that.
Say thanks for helping in World War II when their king and government were taken in from exile as the Germans tried to invade. Nepal has close ties. As another mountain nation, they've taken much interest and send much aid to their programs. High-profile politicians have visited in the past, like their Minister of Environmental Development.
So I'm just confused where Nepal is.
The Prime Minister of Nepal
I'm sure
Norway as well. For the USA, they have a very close connection, not only in diplomacy, government, and business, but specifically to the diaspora living in the USA, and specifically the state of Minnesota. Nearly 1 million Norwegian Americans live in this one state alone. The USA holds more people of Norwegian heritage than any other country outside of Norway, with almost as many as there are in Norway. They even have a game show called Alt for Norge, in which Norwegian Americans see the homeland of their ancestors. They cry and act way too dramatic, which is entertaining. The winner gets to meet their Norwegian relatives, and the losers get a book telling them information, but they don't get to meet their relatives, which is kind of messed up, but it's a game show. What do you expect? Anyway, when it comes to their best friends, pretty much what I've heard is a mix between all the Nordics, but specifically Iceland, Denmark, and Sweden. Iceland is like their party friend they love to go on adventures with. They're also kind of like the preserved Norse nation that their ancestors colonized, which holds a dear spot in their hearts. Today they have a defense agreement that allows the Norwegian Air Force to survey and patrol the Icelandic airspace as well. Denmark and Norway, however, are always kind of fighting for Norway's affection. Both these nations in the past have fought each other and ruled over Norway under separate kingdoms. All three countries were at one point part of the Kalmar Union. They can relatively understand each other when they talk. Swedish is closer to Norwegian though. They are all part of NATO, the Council of Europe, and many people from each of these nations end up marrying and having families together.
In conclusion, Norway's prosperity doesn't stop with their will for gritty cold adventure. They've scaled the South Pole, the icebergs, the glaciers, and the tundras. It's almost as if the ice keeps them warm. Stay tuned. Oman is coming up next.
All right, so that's definitely interesting. Let me know some also historical stuff that I should react to from Norway as well. Just overall, you know, but like I like learning about randomly obscure history moments. Like the war against emus in Australia, like what the fuck? The dancing plague, as I'm sure everyone's heard of. That was wild. But I like learning about some of the most random stuff in history. Because why not? Also, probably some of the most known about stuff that Americans probably don't even realize. Because there's probably a lot of stuff that I don't remember. Or didn't learn about in high school. Or even elementary school. Or just in school in general. They don't really want you to learn about other things. Seems like sometimes. Anyways. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know of some artists to react to down in the comment section below. Also, Norwegian people, what's up? How you doing? Why are your women so beautiful? Asking for a friend. And leave a like rating if you enjoyed this video. I'm brain farts. Not thinking about weird, creepy, naked creatures in your country. That was. Subscribe for more content just like this. It's getting hot in here. Okay, it's getting to it would melt a little bit of your country. Just saying. Subscribe for more content just like this, and I will see you guys next time, because why not?